皆さんこんにちは。オンライン英会話実践デモンストレーション講座へようこそ。早速ですが、皆さんオンライン英会話活用していますでしょうか？私は世界中どこからでも対人で英会話練習ができるオンライン英会話は英語学習において不可欠な要素だと考えています。しかし、オンライン英会話を始めたけれどもなかなかうまく話せない。どうやって会話をリードすればいいのかわからない。日本人が英語を話せるイメージを持ちたい。こう感じている方も多いのではないでしょうか。そこで今回は私がオンライン英会話を使用して英語学習する様子をたっぷり収録した総集編動画、こちらを作成いたしました。ぜひオンライン英会話の使い方やイメージの明確化、使っている表現や構文など様々な角度から英語学習に役立てていただければと思います。また本動画のスクリプトはすべて無料でお配りしております。詳しくは概要欄からご確認ください。また今回の動画ではオンライン英会話キャンブリー、こちらを使用して皆さんにオンライン英会話の使い方や魅力、こちらを伝えていきますが、こちらのオンライン英会話キャンブリーは期間限定のブラックフライデーセールを行っておりまして、最大 50% オフで月額1390円から開始できるようになっています。さらに10月27日から31日までに購入すると60分のボーナスレッスンももらえますので、この動画を見てオンライン英会話を始めてみたいと思った方はぜひこちらもご活用ください。それではオンライン英会話実践デモンストレーション講座、早速見ていきましょう。
So the question is about the usage of I says, right? So when I was talking with my American friend, he said I says, I says, I says. And I was like, there must be something wrong with the grammar of it because I is definitely not a third person singular pronoun. So usually you'd say like I say or I said probably, but that's doesn't seem to apply here for some reason. So today I wanted to pick your brain about why it is okay to say I says instead of I say, and in what kind of situation it is used, and if it is grammatically correct and stuff like that. So if you could explain that, that would be awesome.
Sure. Now, typically, of course, it's not correct, right? And I even looked this up online and it said that it's just very casual to say I says and things like that. But let me ask you this: what region of the United States was he from?
Oh, he's from California.
Oh, okay, interesting. There are lots of things I've noticed coming out of California when it comes to grammar that I am a bit shocked by, right? For example, things like have went, and I think I mentioned this in a previous situation with you before. Things like have went instead of have gone, right? Or things like this, I says, right? And, this is just how language changes, that beforehand it used to be, you cannot say this particular word, or you shouldn't say this particular word because it's not grammatically correct, right? Or substandard, but things are starting to change more and more. So if it's coming out of California, it might mean that it's becoming a little bit more popular to say I says. Personally, I haven't heard any of my friends say I says. Yeah, none of my friends and none of my family, nobody like that. So it seems that California is the trend setter, which is a euphemism, I would say, a trend setter for English. And
which part of America are you calling from again?
Well, I am from Tennessee. I'm living in Panama, but I'm from Tennessee. You would think that in the southern part of the United States that there would be more substandard grammar, but I think with all the education that we've gotten, I think it's helped to make sure that students speak more standard English, right? So yeah. So now let's also talk about historically how it's been used and regionally as well. So if you ever hear this, I've heard it more often in like British TV shows or historical dramas or things like that, where it's more dialectical. based off of the person's education. So if you've ever watched any British historical dramas or fictional dramas like Pride and Prejudice, you might hear more uneducated people say "I says." It might sound like, and all I says to me, mom, that sort of thing, right? That sort of accent. So it's related to that sort of class in society. If the person is a grammar Nazi and is hell-bent on everybody speaking the correct standard form of English, then it might sound very unnatural and unwanted. But if you're talking to somebody like your friend, it's probably going to be normal for you, right? To hear that.
How does it sound to you personally?
It sounds fine to me to hear that, because people speak in their different ways. But as I said, none of my friends or family have ever said that.
I actually try to think why people say "I says" instead of "I said." And possibly it's because, when you're describing a situation that you've gone through, you are kind of like taking a step back and seeing yourself from the distance.
Right.
So when viewed in a certain light, you, in that situation that you've experienced, is already a third party for you. And thus, the person might have chosen to say "says" instead of "said," possibly.
Yeah, because it's what we call narrating, right? Like, for example, so my brother says to me, blah, 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 and then I say, blah, 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 that sort of thing. So it's just basically narrating. So, so I guess it's easy to jump from say to says.
When describing that situation, yourself is kind of like removed from like actual yourself, like, if that makes sense, like that you were seeing yourself as a different person. It's just my educated guess, but
and then you have the group of people that sometimes as a habit talk in the third person. Will says, something like that. And they're an interesting group of people too, but good to meet you again and see you again, and hope this helps.
When do you add gender to a thing, right, in English? Because like usually there isn't a sense of gender in English, but like I sometimes hear people like using it that way. So
it's when there is an emotional attachment to that thing between the person and the machine or object or whatever, right? Yeah, usually it's machines. I remember when I was a kid in my English textbook that it would give all the different rules. And one of the rules is that with larger objects like ships, okay, or nations, you can refer to them as she. Not he. It would be she at that point. You can refer to them as she. It's just kind of a way it's just kind of a term of endearment, you could say. But it's not common to do that. Yeah. Because I think people really like to just keep their objects as objects and not people, So, so laptops, if this laptop has endured a lot with you, let's say maybe gone through a war or gone through, a journey through the Andes or the Himalayas. I don't know why you would bring a laptop to the Himalayas, but you can refer to her as she at that point.
Okay. How about he? Do you ever use he to refer to an object?
You can choose the gender of the object, because in the end it's just imagination, right?
Mhm.
You know, the object does not have a gender. It's neutral. It's nothing basically. So you can name it a he if you want to. Yeah, my mom had the kind of a small hobby of naming all our cars.
Interesting.
Yeah, one of our older gray cars
Mhm.
from like the 80s. We called her Myrtle. So
Hmm.
interesting name. So
What if it was a small thing like airports, for instance?
Mhm.
Like it's pretty small, right? So do you think
that would be much weirder, I'd probably say. Yeah, to call smaller things.
using she,
She. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
would it be he?
No,
No,
it wouldn't
just
be he
it
either.
or
Just
they.
it. Yeah, or
Mm,
them.
right.
Yeah, especially because AirPods or earbuds, they're plural. You know, it's just
Yeah,
one two
that's true.
they,
That's
of
true.
course. Yeah,
Um,
but if it's a pencil,
yeah, Apple Pencil, for instance, or she's been my lovely partner, or he's been my lovely partner. Like this Apple Pencil has been helping me a lot. Like,
if
would
that's
you?
a good point. If it's an Apple Pencil, you know, electronic,
Yeah.
it might be on the verge of being okay to say to call it a she. Yeah,
To call
but
it she, okay,
yeah,
but not he.
mm,
So he's never a choice.
it's just he is just not really. Yeah, it can be a choice, but it's just
Hmm.
usually 99% of the time it's she. Yeah.
Ah, interesting. So if you're like super attached to your thing, like for instance, a pair of headphones that you're wearing right now, like if you've been using them for a very long time and you're like super attached to it, you could call them, well, in this case it's plural, so probably you
Yeah, in
can't.
this case,
But,
but
but if it's
something maybe
something
a backpack.
singular, you could
Yeah.
call it a she.
Yeah. Yeah, you could.
Mhm.
You might not want to overplay the, you know, she because that is over time it's going to sound weird, you know, to the people around you, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, I want you to watch it and
Okay.
then tell me what you think about his British accent. And
Okay.
then I want to try my best British accent as well and want you to rate me on a scale of 1 to 10.
Sure. Okay.
I'm going to try to sound like a British person. I want to hear what you guys have to say about my British English. Do I sound fake or what do you think?
We're not that posh. Everyone thinks we're posh. Don't know.
You sound pretty posh right now. yeah.
I'd say we're like Cockney.
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 Yeah, Cockney.
Like British, but less formal.
Like British. Do I sound Cockney right now, mate? No? No?
I think it's got a bit worse. Yeah.
Okay, it's got a bit worse. Okay, last question. Can you say like a British sentence and I'll try to copy it and you rate me? Anything's fine.
Where's the tube, mate?
Where's the tube, mate?
I think that's the best one yet.
One more time. Let me hear it one time.
Where's the tube, mate?
Where's the tube, mate? No?
I mean, it's close.
1 out of 10. How much? From
I'll
1 to
give it like 4.
4.
Yeah, 3.
I'll give you a 5.
Oh, shit, it's that bad. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Okay, right now I'm going to speak like what an American thinks a British person sounds like, and I want to hear what you guys think. What would you rate me from 1 to 10?
It's terrible.
Terrible.
I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, 3 as well. That was not good.
A 2.
I'm that bad. Okay, thanks, boys. So from now on, I'm going to talk like a British person. I want to see what you think, if I sound like a British person or not at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Really?
No. The accent. I don't know. You just sound very American.
I do. Okay, and finally, I'm going to talk like what an American thinks a British person sounds like, and I want you to rate me from maybe 1 to 10.
Okay, I think I got it. All right. Yeah. So so he's doing his impression, and then he's asking a lot of people on the street, and they're all kind of laughing at him, giving like really low score. And I think it's just because even if he's really trying, there's just a few things that like really give him away. And yeah, definitely, I noticed that even when he's trying really hard, there's like a certain T sound that he's making.
Mm.
Or so he's still saying like British like this.
Right.
So, but we would always say British or even British.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So yeah, I think that's like the main thing I keep hearing. And even if he's trying to alter all the other parts, yeah, there's still some that sound like not British.
So I just copied the sentences that he said in the video.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to sound like a British person. I want to hear what you have to say about my British accent. Do I sound
Oh.
fake, or what do you think? So let me read it with my own accent first,
Okay.
and let me know like how British it is first of all,
Mhm.
with what it is, right?
Okay.
Without really me trying to change it to make
Okay.
it sound more like a British accent. So let me read it first. I'm gonna try to sound like a British person, and I want to hear what you have to say about my British accent. Do I sound fake, or what do you think?
Mhm. So that's your normal accent, right?
So yeah, this is my normal accent, and
Okay.
with my normal accent, like how British does it sound? First of all, because when I did the same challenge in London, like many
Mhm.
people actually told me that like I sound pretty British,
Right.
but I wasn't really sure like what you mean really by
Mhm.
pretty British.
Right. Right.
Like what are your thoughts on my accent in
Um.
general in comparison
Yeah.
with British?
Right. Right. I think I also saw your video on that as
Oh,
well.
did you?
A little bit. I think I saw a bit. But yeah, I think the main reason is probably because of your experience in Australia. So you know you're picking more Aussie accent, and I think that has more similarities with a British accent. So I think I've said before, like maybe if somebody's talking quickly or they're just saying something quite short, maybe I could mistake an Australian person for a British person
Mm,
in some cases if their accent like isn't too strong. So I think maybe that's the main reason why people might think that you're a little bit British. I mean, maybe I can still hear like a little bit of Japanese accent in there, so maybe people can like consider that as well.
mhm,
But compared to your friend Nick, he's like very American. So when he's trying to go from that to British, you can still really hear the American parts. Like it's very
mm,
like distinct,
mhm,
yeah, compared to coming from Australian. So
mm.
maybe that's the reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't think of it as a British accent. Like my accent wouldn't be like within the category of British accent you have in your brain.
No, I don't think so.
Right. So it will probably fall into a category of what? Maybe international accent, or like how would you define it?
Yeah, like I said, it's quite Aussie, I think. Yeah,
It
it's
is.
more
Okay.
Australian.
I see. Cool. Thank you. So let me try with my best British accent. Probably the T's are the key points, I guess.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to sound like a British person, and I want to hear what you have to say about my British accent. Do I sound fake, or what do you think?
Not bad, not bad.
Not bad.
I do think you were making the T sounds in the correct places in like British.
Mhm.
But I think unconsciously, instead of saying wanna, you said want to. You
Do British
automatically did
people
that.
British people say wanna?
We do
Okay,
wanna. Yeah.
it's my stereotype that like you guys say everything like correctly.
No, not at all. Let me think. What do I say? I want to hear what you have to say. I want to. Maybe British people actually say something a little bit more like
Wanna.
want to, like not, or at least that's what I would say in my dialect.
Mhm.
So instead of wanna with a, it's more like
Wanna.
want to. Yeah. I wanna hear what you have to say.
Hear what you have to say. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
probably there is no air sounds in it as much as the Australian accent,
Which do you mean?
like accent or accent sound, for example.
Oh, right. Yeah, that it is a little bit different. Yeah. Yeah. So
Maybe
accent is just very sharp, I think.
accent.
Ah,
Accent.
mhm.
Ah,
accent.
Accent.
Yes.
Is it the vowel that sits in between a and e, or is it more like a?
Oh, I never know how to explain this one. Because for me, a lot of people get mixed up between like a and e,
Mhm.
but for me, the British like it's not like American like
Yeah, yeah.
It's usually shorter and I don't know how to describe it, but sharper. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so it's usually like accent.
And and this time I deliberately try to heighten the pitch a bit because I've got this again stereotype that British people speak with a higher pitch than Americans, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I
Like,
don't think
I'm
that's
gonna
true.
try to sound like a British person, like a bit higher than I'm gonna try to sound like a British person. I'm gonna try to sound like a. I'm gonna try to sound like a.
Maybe if you're trying to imitate it, it might help you
Help.
to start off higher. Maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily think so, but if it helps, then
Let me try with my normal pitch then.
okay.
I'm gonna try to sound like a British person. How about this part? I'm gonna try to sound like a British person.
Mm-hmm.
Does this
Oh.
sound British at all?
Oh, was that your normal accent, or were you trying? I don't know.
British accent. Maybe the only thing I changed was the flap T of British to British. So I'm gonna try to and two as well. Like I'm gonna try to sound like a British person. Like, does this sound British at all, or not really? I'm gonna
Yeah,
try to sound like a
think
British
if you stress the T a little bit more, it does make you sound a bit more British. Yeah.
All right. I think this whole paragraph is a little bit too long. So let me use just the first one and try to make it perfect. I'm gonna try to sound like a British person. I'm gonna try to sound like a British person.
I'm gonna try to.
First of all, this is exactly the sentence that British people would never say.
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna try to sound like a British person. So I think the vowel that you make for like. Okay, forget I'm pronouncing the K a bit too much there, but
Right.
the vowel sound, yours sounds a little bit different, but I'm not sure how.
Can I say like again?
Like.
Oh, a bit darker maybe. Like.
I'm going to try to sound like a British person. Like.
I'm gonna try to sound like a British person.
I'm laughing because it sounds better, but
Oh, does it?
In a strange way, it does sound a little bit more British.
Like a British person.
Like.
My original is like.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just it's slightly different. Can I hear you say the part? Do I sound fake, or what do you think? Can you say that?
Do I sound fake, or what do you think?
Maybe.
Do
British.
I sound fake, or what do you think?
That's better.
Oh, is it better?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. You're just changing your pitch again.
I just changed the pitch. Okay, so definitely the pitch plays an important role.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right. In that case, maybe sometimes it's not so much about the individual sounds, but it can be the combination of sounds, the intonation can give you away sometimes because, mostly we're just copying what we hear from other people, right? So
yeah. Do I sound fake? No.
No,
I'm being a bit annoying now.
No, it's okay. It sounds okay. It sounds better than the other one, but it also sounds like the type of British accent that people always copy, right?
Right.
It's like the bottle of water, that kind of flow. I think what that sound what.
Oh wait, what?
do I sound fake, or what do you think?
What-
how would you
what-
how would you pronounce it with your normal accent?
What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah.
Should I
It's
exaggerate it a bit more.
a little bit.
What do you think? What do you think? Like
See, that makes you sound more like the guys in that video, right? The kind of very London accent. What?
what? What? Do I sound fake? What do you think?
What do you think? That
What
sounds
do you
good.
think?
Okay. Actually, the more casual way would be to say, what you think?
What you think?
Yeah, what you think?
Do I sound fake or what you think?
Okay. Sounding a bit better. Yeah, what you think?
What you
Yeah.
think?
hmm
What you think?
Mhm.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, overall,
Okay, I'm gonna give you a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, I'm just going on based on what other people in the video were saying, like their scale of like 1 to 10. I'm gonna give you a 6.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Or you say cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Well, that sounded really Aussie actually.
Oh,
never
no.
mind.
Maybe the mate part. Can I say mate again?
Cheers, mate.
Mate. So instead of mate,
Or not even mate, or mate.
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 Cheers, mate.
Not bad.
Sounded a bit too Aussie, maybe.
Mhm.
Cheers, mate. Maybe the face, your facial expression is important as well, I guess.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay.
Did it sound British?
Getting better. Getting better.
But it's not there. Cool.
All right. Sorry, out of time, but yeah, have a nice day. Thanks.
Hi.
Hey, hi Atsu, hi.
How's it going?
Yeah, I've lost my voice slightly. I do apologize.
What can I say? Catch a cold? Or what?
No, I went and watched some live music, and unfortunately, between my friend driving his Subaru very fast and his wind being open in the windows, and and shouting over loud music,
Oh, right.
I'm paying the
Right.
consequences really.
That's all
not the
right.
best situation.
That's no problem.
Yeah.
Are you feeling better now? Is it
Yeah,
getting better?
but I lost my voice completely on Saturday, so that was
no.
really unfortunate.
Did you
but
have
I'm
any
getting-
lessons on the day?
I know, luckily nothing on the weekends. Yeah,
Beautiful.
well, very rarely somebody might request me, and so I try to not do the weekend just to recover, really. But
Yep.
yeah,
So today I've got a specific topic that I
Great.
wanted to talk about. So it's a grammar question that I want to pick your brain about. So it's such a simple question, but I think there is some depth in it. So the difference between I've lived in Japan for 3 years versus I've been living in Japan for 3 years. And in a typical grammar class, a teacher would say that, okay, so these are exactly the same. You can use either, like interchangeably. But like, to me, this is just my personal opinion, and this might be just me, but when you say I've lived in Japan for 3 years, it feels like the emphasis is on the fact that the person has lived, or the person has the experience of living in Japan for 3 years. And there is a bit of uncertainty as to whether the person is actually still living in Japan even now.
Yes.
Whereas when you say I've been living in Japan for 3 years, like it's very clear that the person is still living in Japan. So over the past 3 years, he has lived in Japan. But like, what are your thoughts? What's your take on this?
as I say, I actually completely agree with that. I think that when you say been implies experience in a place. I think really that's what it would say to me. And so been, you've been there for a length of time. I do also agree that it could be used interchangeably, but it sort of speaks of experience. I think that's a simple answer to that. So I completely agree with what you were saying, and examples you gave were what I was going to say, in fact. So yeah.
So if you encounter somebody who says that I've lived in Japan for 3 years, is it very clear in your thought that, oh, okay, so this person is still living in Japan, or is it kind of vague?
I think that sounds like they've had an experience there, but maybe not at length. That's what it would seem like to me. So perhaps they're not there right now, or they haven't considered to go back perhaps, but they have had previous experience. So yeah, that's a strange one. Yeah, I'd say that if they said been, it would definitely imply a length of time.
Until now.
Yeah, until now. Yeah. So you're right. I think that it's one of those very, again, quite subtle differences in English. But yeah, you could use it interchangeably, but it would imply in my head that they've had a length of time there. Like, yeah, that was my thoughts on that. Yeah.
So if you want to make it crystal clear that you're not living in Japan anymore, but you have this experience of living in Japan for a certain period of time, would you want to say, like, maybe I had lived in Japan for 3 years? Does that sound more accurate, or not really?
I think if you said that, that implies that, you know, you'd been there previously in this case, but you're not remaining there any longer. That's what that would give me an impression if I heard that. But do you think for other people, they also feel this as well? Do you think they also, when they hear that grammatical question, I wonder what other people's response to that is. Have they said the same thing?
I actually haven't asked this question to anyone yet.
So we'll find out the consensus about that then.
Yeah, but like just my personal experience of immersion in the English environment kind of like makes me feel that now, you know, what I learned in a typical grammar class doesn't really fit very well in the practical environment. So like now that I think about it, actually, shouldn't that be always I've been living in Japan? Like if you want to say that you are still living in Japan and have this experience of 3 years, but like some people say that, you know, I've lived in Japan could mean that you are still living in Japan. So it's kind of ambiguous, you know, and maybe if you want to make it clear, like maybe you should just say I lived in Japan for 3 years. Maybe that's the
very
most straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice to see you again. Have a great evening or morning, I should say.
So this is about idioms, idiomatic expressions. So I think especially British people and Australian people as well. I'm not really sure about Americans, but you guys use a lot of, you know, idiomatic expressions, right? What do you think are the roles that idiomatic expressions play? So the reason I want to ask this is my book's distinctions have lots of idiomatic expressions. And the reason being I came across so many idioms when I was in Australia, and I felt that it was a gap between what we learned here and then what they speak.
Right.
But like but some people actually say that like, what's the point of learning this? Like if you can communicate the same thing using basic vocabulary.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the roles?
Right. Okay. I think that they're definitely still important to learn, simply because that when you're listening to people or reading something, you are going to come across them eventually. I don't. There are some idioms that are, you know, maybe you learn an idiom and you say, wow, that's really useful. I wish, like, I really want to use this. Very like situation specific. So yeah, I think some of them can be quite useful to learn and use. But I think a lot of them are useful for learning. So you have to be aware of them, but you don't necessarily have to use them, right? Like in your normal conversation, yeah, maybe I kind of agree. You don't have to be using it if you want to express yourself in simpler words. Like, yeah.
Does it really change the impression of the person? Like if the person used idiomatic expressions in a conversation, like what do you think?
Yeah, maybe it can in some ways. For example, if I hear like one of my non-native friends, actually I have a friend, he's Korean, but he spent a lot of time in the UK. And sometimes I just hear him use some phrases where it's like, wow, you sound really British. It's quite funny. And yeah, maybe that shows like a little bit of knowledge that maybe other people don't have, but maybe it makes it a little bit easier for me to connect with him. Maybe he understands my culture a little better than other people do. So in some ways, maybe, yeah, it can be beneficial.
And it kind of brings your communication to the next stage where you can establish a nice relationship like between a heart and heart, of two people. Because like without using idiomatics expressions, like you can, of course, chat, you can communicate, but that's only like just the what's it called, an exchange of information, really. Like it's not really the most effective process of establishing a relationship. And like you said, like it doesn't really impact how meaningful the communication is, but like most of the communication out there probably doesn't have much meaning anyway. So I think the true meaning of communication is not really telling you the exact information that you want to tell, but rather it's more about like in the dynamics of personal relationship. You communicate so that you get closer, you feel closer, and you establish a relationship, friendships and stuff. And I think that's often the true meaning of communication.
Yeah, I do agree with you to that extent. So you think that maybe learning these idioms can help like bridge that gap, build up to that like next level of communication or like friendliness with a person.
What do you think are the main reasons why people use idiomatic expressions while they can still communicate the same thing using basic vocabulary?
That's a very interesting subject. I think that the reasons why many people like to use that is because unlike words alone, using these kind of expressions, you can kind of convey a feeling, or how can I say, not just a feeling, but also kind of especially for native speakers, a kind of knowing connection to an expression that's used. So I think that very familiar phrases for people, people can really relate to that because they are expressions that go back perhaps from sort of centuries ago that have kind of been heard throughout time. So I think that, yeah, it's great for conveying feelings. Whereas you can be very direct with language. But I guess the problematic side is that many people can't quite understand how to use them correctly because they don't really translate very well often. And that is kind of problematic. Explaining them to someone is not actually that easy, in my opinion. I guess the best way to learn it is to try and sort of research many of them and kind of have, well, maybe not an understanding, but try to read about how to best use them. It's difficult actually to explain why people would perhaps pick them over direct language. I love using idiomatic expressions. I think as we had this conversation before, I probably use them very often, and you do too, of course. For lack of a better term, quite lovely to my ears to hear them. I think I quite like. I think the elephant in the room is one that I really like.
Nice.
Because I think that sort of really kind of explains like a kind of interesting thing that nobody really wants to talk about, but is there. I think that's one of my favorites. I think because I'm also an artist, I love the visuals that creates in my mind when somebody says that. That's why it kind of enriches language, because it's just kind of exciting to hear that visual image conjured up for you. Whereas, you could say that's a topic nobody wants to talk about. but it doesn't particularly sound as interesting if you say it that way. You could get through life and not use any of these expressions as a language learner, but it can enrich your conversations if you use them. And I think that's sort of covered in your books, the fact that you talk about this subject often, and it can stimulate a conversation by using these particular phrases.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point you made, that visualization is something that can be generated by using idioms, right? Like just saying that's the topic that nobody wants to talk about. Like there is no visualization that occurs in your brain. Whereas when you say an elephant in the room, then obviously what you're going to visualize is an elephant, the big creature in the room, which is not something that's realistically going to happen. But that's what makes it like sound more interesting and playful, like you said. So
I've noticed that growing up in the UK, that it's quite humorous, our language in many ways. So many of those expressions have a basis in that particular area. I think it's sort of typically maybe example of dry British humor sometimes that have so many like that.
And I think in most cases, our conversations are not really executed just for the sake of, communicating information, but rather to have fun.
The bulk of learning is very sort of heavy going, but idioms can make it fun.
Yep. All right, running out.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, Atsu.
It was fun. Thank you. My question is, which article should I use when I use the word accent? So for example, should I say an American accent or the American accent? Or you have the American accent or you have an American accent?
Yeah, so I believe that the American accent is used to refer to the understanding that this is considered a typical accent or example of the accent. However, you might use an in a different case, but that could be deemed a bit misleading, as it might imply that there are multiple American accents. So in this case, an is like a specific version of an accent that recognizes that there are variations. For example, let's say when somebody states you have an American accent, they are creating an emphasis on a specific version of this accent. But in other cases where you refer to an individual, it might be more appropriate to use an. If I give these examples, I want to study the American accent. That refers to the kind of general concept of it. And if we said he speaks with an American accent, that makes more sense in this case because it describes the specific traits of the accent.
So basically you're saying that when you're referring to the accent as a concept,
yes,
you should use the.
Yes.
Whereas when you are talking about an accent of a person,
yes,
or an individual, like in a specific case, you should be using an, because in that case you are talking about the accent of the person rather than the accent in general, like as a concept.
Yeah, where you're referring to the whole thing. Yeah.
But Adam, you have a British accent.
Yes, I've got a
but
British
you don't
accent.
have that British accent.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. So this is the sort of examples of the variations there. I guess because I have RP accent, so I think that it's the British accent in this case, I think refers to it quite well to kind of sum up this situation, I think. Yeah.
So we can apply this knowledge probably to the other similar cases. So for example, you said the word RP, right?
Yes, yeah.
So you'd say, I want to study the RP, or I want to learn the RP, right?
Yeah.
So
they're obviously very closely linked. That's the situation between these two things.
So, for example, if I come across someone who speaks with an Osaka accent,
Yeah.
I should be saying that, oh, you have an Osaka accent.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Why do you speak with
Within Osaka dialect, or yeah.
It's not the, but it's
Yeah.
because it's
Yes.
the accent of the person, not really the
Yeah.
general concept. Crystal clear, perfect.
Brilliant.
I'd never actually thought about it, but now like it's all coming together.
Well, it's not something that people talk about very often. I think this is a quite unusual subject, so it is interesting to hear this kind of dissected really like this. So
Yeah, it's beautiful. I like it. Nice. Do you think we should try to reduce our accent?
I believe, in my opinion, I think that, first and foremost, of course, learning a language at any point is very important, and you always have the building blocks where you're building on what you know and you're progressing. But I think, yes, to eventually have that sort of accent reduction is very good, because it makes you sound much kind of clearer with your speaking, and I think you're getting it more to a more authentic degree that you're trying to achieve with your maybe you could say you're copying of what you're hearing and your influences. You eventually kind of progress along that path, and you reduce it more and more until you kind of repeat what you're hearing and hopefully get it where you want your accent to be, hopefully. So yeah, I believe so. That would be my what I would say on this subject. Yeah,
This topic kind of like is associated with the identity of the person as well. Like if you lose the accent that stems from your mother tongue or first language, then your like part of your identity might be lost as a result. What do you think of that? How would you?
I mean that certainly could be argued, but another argument that could be made is each individual is exactly that, and I don't think you lose your identity when you're speaking in a different language. When you speak in your mother tongue, you're speaking in the language that you know best. But when you're speaking in a different language, you're trying to communicate with other people, and hopefully you're not being judged for how you speak in a different language. Mere fact you're able to communicate is fantastic. You can talk to people worldwide, so I don't think that should be an issue, but I can understand that for some people it might be an issue.
So when it comes to choosing the right accent for you, because I think you need some kind of standard that you can refer to, like a reference point to improve your accent and reduce your accent, right? It was very natural for me to choose the Australian accent because I was there for 7 years, whereas there are a lot of English learners in Japan or in other countries as well who have no plans to go abroad really, or don't have any experience living in an English-speaking country. In which case, which accent do you think they should choose?
To be honest, I always tell my students it actually really doesn't matter what accent you pick, because there's no correct answer, but I think you pick what you feel comfortable with. For example, I meet people who are very interested in British culture, so naturally they kind of gravitate towards more British accent-based films or TV shows, for example, or radio shows. I can meet somebody next week who has had a lot of American English education, so they gravitate towards that. But they also might want to talk to me to hear a British accent, because some people love to hear variations. So, like you went to Australia, you spent time there. It makes sense that you would hear that variation in the accent. To sum it up, there's no correct answer. Just whatever makes you feel comfortable. Definitely, that's the way to go with this.
Even on Cambly, when I have some conversation with a student and I help them with like really common mistake that I hear all the time, I'll make a quick note to be like, oh, I could make a video about this,
Nice.
So I've been keeping kind of like a list of notes of things that I want to do.
Do you want to share one of the common mistakes that people make?
Oh, let me see. Maybe I wrote a few down over the last few days. So maybe one of them I hear is like the difference between ago and before. So you could say like weeks ago. We're talking like from now. But then you would say 3 weeks before if you were talking about some other time frame, like I did this 3 weeks before I did this, right? So if we're talking from now, we use different words. So we say ago, and then also in the future as well. Like people would if you're talking about something else, you would say 3 days later. But if you're talking about from now, you would say in 3 days. Right? Yeah, I think I'm often hearing mistakes like this when they're talking about like what they did recently.
It's actually pretty confusing. So especially later, after, in 3 days. So I think these usages are pretty confusing. So let me clarify on that. So if you were to say in 3 days, so let's meet in 3 days. So today is Wednesday, so let's meet on Saturday. That's in 3 days. So you can't say let's meet after 3 days. It's a little bit weird, right?
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah.
3 days later, that doesn't work either.
No, like if we're talking about from now, then no, we don't say that. No.
Right. So after and later can only be used from a specific point in time in the past, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So we met 3 days after, or we met 3 days later. So is there any difference between them? 3 days after we met again, or 3 days later we met again.
3 days later is okay. 3 days after is okay. I might also say 3 days after that. I would say after that, maybe it comes more naturally, but I would say for the most part they're the same.
Yeah, I always have this temptation that I need to say something after, so like 3 days after that, but it's a little bit like too much sometimes, like when I want to speak really fast, like having to say that after is a bit, too much for me. So sometimes I tend to maybe omit it, but I'm not sure if that's grammatically correct or if that sounds as natural as how native speakers would say. So is it okay not to have that after that? No, after.
After that. I think after that just sounds better.
Okay.
And also you can use it like at the beginning of a sentence to continue from what you were saying before. So I did this. After that, I did this. After that, I did this. So it exists by itself.
So personally, you wouldn't say, and then 3 days after we blah blah blah. That wouldn't.
And then 3 days after, 3 days after that, 3 days later. I think the more I think about it, the more confused I get. Always. Maybe 3 days. I think I just like 3 days after that. Sounds better.
After that.
For me.
Does it have to be 2 days before that? Does it have to have that after before?
I think when you use that, it just sounds more concrete and more specific about when you're talking about. So. Like, say, for example, if you had like a longer sentence where you mentioned many things, and then you could say 3 days before, well, 3 days before what? Maybe if you say that, it means like more specifically the thing that you said, like in that sentence, like towards the end. But you could say like, 3 days before the party, 3 days before something. But if you say that, it's kind of like more specific, I guess.
Okay. So say on the day of negotiation, he started driving a hard bargain. And I was like, well, we had already agreed on that 3 days before. That would sound a bit awkward.
It would be okay. But 3 days before that, 3 days before that is also fine.
Is also fine. So they are on par with each other.
I think so, yeah.
So it's not like, so in the case of after, like you had to have that after, but for in the case of before, you don't really have to have that after before. Is that right?
Yeah, okay, I guess you're right. Yeah.
How long do you think usually take for an English learner to be able to speak English?
Okay. So first of all, I think it depends on like how much knowledge of English they have beforehand, because I know particularly in Japan, there's a lot of students where they'll be studying kind of quite academically, or they do a lot of reading and stuff where they're not actually practicing speaking. So they think like, oh, you know, I don't know any English, but the truth is they do. It's all like hidden up here somewhere. But like you said, there's no opportunity to like articulate themselves and like have a proper conversation. If you've got a good foundation of vocabulary already, like in here, I think if you're practicing like a few times per week to have a conversation, I would say as simple as like a few months. So I think as long as you're practicing like constantly, I think that you can get to a kind of conversational level in just a few months. I mean, you're not going to be like super fluent, or you're not going to sound perfect at every situation. But as long as you can express the things that you want to say, then I think, it doesn't actually take as long as people think. Like to sound like really, really natural and fluent and using all these fancy words, that's a different story. Of course, that can take years. But I think, getting to the point where you can have simple chats with people probably doesn't take that long. Probably just a few months if you stick at it and you've already got some vocabulary behind you.
So whether or not they have the strong foundations or not is the first really important requisite for to get to that level. So what if they didn't have any foundations, like only just scratching the surface of learning English is the only thing that they have done? What kind of story they think they will have to go through?
Oh, okay. So I think, like we said, like many times before, input is really important. So you would have to start with that. I think building up your vocabulary is probably the best thing that you can do if you're a beginner. Because like we said, if you don't have vocabulary, if you don't have words, then what are you going to do? Like how do you communicate anything? How do you understand what the other person is saying as well? That's also really important, right? So I would start with like vocabulary, getting used to grammar structures. You don't have to focus on like really complex grammar. I think if you're getting good input, then the most common grammar structures will become apparent to you as you study, right? I think if you're starting from zero, I would say probably you should spend a few months just inputting and just trying to get as much vocabulary as you can and like some comprehensible input. And then after that, maybe you can start speaking. But I think definitely you have to have that input first. So maybe then probably like 6 months, at least 6 months, I would say, or up to a year. It depends on the person. But
do you have any students who didn't know anything about English when they started taking lessons from you, but now can speak English really well?
Honestly, no, because I think with English these days, especially for adults, it's very rare for me to meet somebody who doesn't know anything, because everybody is going through the education system somewhere, whether it's good education or bad education, they're still getting something, right? So I think it's really rare for me to meet true beginners that really don't know anything. I think everybody's got like a little bit up here.
So how about students who at least know the very basics of English, like what they would go through in compulsory education, but nothing more than that, and have been taking lessons from you for a certain length of period of time, and now you think that they improved a lot, and they were not really able to communicate at all when they started, but now they can, continue a conversation. Do you have such students?
I think if you're taking lessons more regularly, like maybe it doesn't have to be long, but frequency I think is better. So like 3 times per week, you chat with the tutor, And yeah, I think if you can go through it like 6 months, you can actually improve a huge amount in 6 months. Maybe at the time you don't really feel it, but if you look back at like your first lessons, you'll realize that there's a huge difference. And yeah, I have had some students like that. But also not only are they taking lessons with me, they're also taking the initiative to find their own interests in English. And yeah, even outside of the classroom, they're learning English from somewhere or other. So yeah, I think when you ask like, oh, how long does it take? It really depends how many hours you want to put into it or how many hours you decide that you have, right? So
it's a very big question, right? There's so many variables in the equation. So
but yeah, I think just like developing good habits, even for people that say, oh, you know, I don't have time to study English. I think everybody can spare 20 minutes every day, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon, and like developing some good habits like that is crucial, I think.
Right. So you think there is a stronger correlation between the frequency of lessons and their growth, like rather than the quantity of lesson or the amount of time they spend per lesson and their growth?
Well, yeah, I think not just for English, but this is my experience when I study like Japanese or something else. If I'm only taking one lesson per week, I feel like it's not enough, because by the time I get to the next week, I feel my brain is cold again. I don't know how to make sentences, right? But if I'm having it at least twice a week or best 3 times a week, even if it's just for like 30 minutes, you don't have to have like a 1 hour lesson, but just having the opportunity to chat for 20-30 minutes a few times per week, I think is actually better than having like 1 hour of class once a week. So but that's just my personal experience. Like some people might disagree, but
how many times would be the best?
I would say at least 2, and
at
least 2, and maybe you want to put them as far away, so maybe like every 3 or 4 days, like Monday or Friday, or you can have like 3 times per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, something like that. But I would say if even for really busy people, I think twice a week should be the bare minimum.
Bare minimum. Okay. Surely they can manage to find at least like 30 minutes or so every day, right?
Right.
Maybe 30 minutes in the morning or 30 minutes before they go to bed. You know, surely they have some like what's it called? Gap time? What's the word for it?
Free time, spare time?
A spare time,
Right. I also noticed when regarding like motivation as well. If I've got 1 class per week that's 1 hour, there might be days where I wake up and I was like, oh God, I really just don't want to do this class today. But I think if it's a 30-minute class, even if you're in a really bad mood, you'd be like, it's okay. It's only 30 minutes, right? So yeah, I think it's more like your mindset about it, like having smaller, short classes throughout the week is actually like nicer. And I think you're more likely to stick to it as well.
Yeah. And once you routinize it, it's going to be pretty easy, right? Like it just becomes part of your life, and it'll probably become almost like just brushing your teeth pretty much, you know?
Right.
Something that you naturally do without even thinking. So yeah, I think it's really important to force themselves to get into that groove where you don't really feel anything taking lessons, like you don't have any emotions for taking lessons. It just becomes part of your life. I think that's
right, exactly.
That's an important thing.
And that's how it should be. Like you should be enjoying it, right? You shouldn't be like, oh, I really don't want to take class today, or oh, I'm too lazy for this. Like you should be like, oh, this is what I do. This is what I like.
So today, I wanted to ask you, or I wanted you to share some experience around. So, you know, I think you being a Cambly tutor, I think you've come across lots of different types of students, right? Some students progress really fast, and some students
take quite a long time, like pretty slow, right, in getting the grasp of like how to communicate in English. And what I wanted to ask you today was, what do you think is the gap caused? So what do you think are the qualities of bright students who are really good at, getting the grasp of things and progressing really fast? Because I think there are like certain attributes that I think you've identified already interacting with students that makes a difference between those two different groups. So if you could share your experience or thoughts on that, that would be great, because I think, people watching my videos who are really keen to learn English and grow fast, I think they're really curious about, what's the thing that makes them good learners.
The first one is cultural immersion, language immersion, and just being surrounded by it, and just gaining a grasp on how things work, the mechanics, the slang, colloquialisms, the accent, everything, even the vocabulary. It's you have to really immerse yourself in it. It's hard for me when I'm learning Japanese sometimes, because it only, is like 15 minutes a day or even less than that. And it's kind of a slow progress. The good thing about Duolingo is that it does help to keep you on track with your streak, so that you don't lose your streak. So you have to do it every day. Otherwise, your streak freezes, or you lose it. So that's the good thing about Duolingo. It helps you repeatedly interact with the language. But I would say that Duolingo is not enough. You have to immerse yourself in the language, whether it's English, Japanese, Chinese, French. You have to immerse yourself in it, surround yourself with it, and just breathe it in, basically, so that you become part of the culture and you become part of the language itself. The second category I'd probably say is motivation. What is your motivation to do this? How much motivation do you have? Are you studying for the test, or are you studying to live in the other country? Are you studying it because your boss tells you to learn the language and to become proficient in it? And if you don't have a particular motivation, if you're doing it just for fun, I think that motivation can only go so far. If you are really studying, like for me, my motivation is mainly for fun, but also so that I can learn or watch Japanese anime without having to use the subtitles. Sometimes, when I am busy doing other things, I might look at my phone, and I can't be reading the subtitles and doing my phone at the same time. One of the superpowers I wish I could have is listening to the Japanese, understanding it completely, and still doing gaming, something like that, multitasking. So, of course, I want to visit Japan as well, live there for a while, experience the culture, eat the food, visit the people. And I think that'd be really fun. And so that's my main motivation of learning Japanese.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the categories that you've mentioned definitely partly come from your experience, right, interacting with students. So going back to the first category, which was immersion, right? So students, I think, taking Cambridge lessons, mostly I think they are based in their home country, where the language that they are learning, in this case English, is not spoken in their daily lives. But do you think the students who grow really fast try to deliberately surround themselves in the environment where the language is spoken by, for example, listening to English, listening materials or something all the time, or watching dramas or something like that? Do you think they make that conscious effort to do that?
Plenty of my students try to do that. I'd probably say, because with my Japanese students specifically, they are pretty exposed to English already, just because of the ties between Japan and the United States, technologically or culturally or with tourism. So, and they're kind of forced to learn, English at a young age, starting at a young age. So, but even those that still surround themselves with the material, they listen to it, they listen to podcasts. A couple of my students, I'll give you 2 examples without mentioning any names. One of my students is from Japan. He lives in Taiwan, and he still is not able to really get the accent down and the pronunciation down correctly. Maybe he might mess up a few words or some grammar. But he listens to podcasts on the way to work, on the subway. He tries to watch certain videos, and he's even testing. He's decided to test for the Toeic test, and he's been studying for that, And so, even with all of that, his accent and his pronunciation of certain words and things that he wants to improve upon, I still haven't really seen much of development in that. Let's go to the other student. She lives in Japan, and she's a mother and she's a teacher, and she also struggles with accent but she also struggles with speed as well, trying to read at a natural pace, trying to speak at a natural pace. And she, does Ingu daily news. She does breaking news English. She reads and she listens to TED Talks. And she does that a pretty good deal. Both of my students, I think, also rewatch our lessons. So there's a lot of immersion going on still.
Yep.
But still, I haven't seen improvement a lot in certain areas.
Right.
Even though they might be learning more vocabulary, learning maybe new grammar. Still, so I would probably say that the desire to become like that other culture has to surpass the desire to pass the test, or the desire to be able to read.
Yeah, which relates to your second point, which is motivation.
Yeah.
And I think, I think partly it's because of like how they approach accent and pronunciation as well. Like just immersing yourself in the environment where the language is spoken doesn't necessarily perfect your pronunciation or an accent or improve your pronunciation and accent. And I think that's where phonetics and something like that, comes into play, because like if you dig deeper into that academic level, you start seeing it on a more granular level, like phonemes, allophones, and stuff like that. And they really helped me improve my pronunciation. So I think they might just need to cut it from a slightly different angle so that you can, they can unpack what's really causing the issues and what's really, being the impediment in their progress.
Right. Diagnose the issue, or even self-diagnose.
Yeah.
I'll give you one last example before we finish. There's this one student from Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and she said that she learned English in literally like 4 months or so, and her accent was like perfect British English accent. It was amazing, and I was like, how in the world? And so my idea is that she studied every single day for several hours, at least every single day, listening to the accent and trying to do it. And but I think also she's somewhat intelligent, so that helps in a certain way to be able to register all of the new information very quickly
and now analyze logically as well the issues
then
that she's
analyze from there.
experiencing.
So people are different. People have different skill levels. So each person that learns English, they need to analyze themselves, know themselves, and figure out what the best strategy is for themselves.
Yeah.
And if someone can help them with that, that would be great too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All
Cool.
right. Well, very good.
Thanks for your thoughts.
finished. So I will see you in our next class.
Yeah.
All right.
See you
See
soon.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, hi, how's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Yeah, and yeah, happy New Year to you.
Happy
Hope
New Year.
everything's good.
Yeah, going perfect. How about you?
Great. Yeah, so far so good. I think so.
So far so
Yeah.
good. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, maybe this year I started my I actually started like more of my social media accounts and stuff like that.
Nice.
So
Sounds exciting.
yeah, I did a little bit last year, but I think I was just maybe not putting 100% in.
Mhm.
But yeah, maybe this year I told myself I'm going to be a bit more consistent.
So which platform are you targeting mainly?
At the moment, I'm just on Instagram,
Instagram.
and then like they've got TikTok as well, but I feel like I'm not actually that knowledgeable about that. Maybe I'm too old. I don't know.
Yeah, not a TikTok kind of person. I
but-
get that.
Yeah,
They're a
but I
little bit
guess
too young. Mhm.
yeah, but I guess like what I make on Instagram, you can just throw it onto TikTok anyway, just to see how it is.
Yeah,
So I've got that as well,
That's
but
true. Can I have a look at your Instagram account if you
oh,
don't mind?
maybe later. Like I said, I've only maybe I've just started, so maybe I'm not so sure I'm a YouTube person yet. So
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't really want to delve into that. So yeah, I think Instagram's like a safe place to.
Is it?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think so.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty short, right?
Right,
So I think
mhm.
you can produce a lot of videos pretty quickly. That's really good because you can keep yourself like really up to
Mhm.
date always. Like when it comes to YouTube, like there was just so much editing process involved.
Right,
So just to
yeah,
produce
mhm.
one piece of video, it takes quite a long time, and
Yeah. hmm
yeah, people might forget about you pretty
Yeah.
easily if you don't post it regularly. So yeah,
Right,
it takes
right.
a bit more resources, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. What do you want to look at today? You've
Yes,
just-
so I put together my thoughts on this Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
So if we could take a look at those,
All right.
that would be cool. So I put together all the random images and words here. So this is,
Okay.
so today I want to talk about X, right?
Uh-huh.
So X, such a familiar term, and I
Right.
I eat X every day, and I love X. But
Mhm.
when it comes to some like usages of related terms around X, I think there is like a bit of depth in it. So I wanted to unpack it. I've got a few questions. So first of all, scrambled eggs.
Mhm.
One of the ways to cook eggs,
Mm-hmm.
scrambled eggs. So in Japan, we call it scrambled egg. So in a better
Right.
pronunciation, it would be like scrambled egg
Yeah.
instead of scrambled egg.
Right. Right.
So it's
Okay.
not really past participle.
Mhm.
But in the English world, it's got to be always scrambled because it's referring to the form of eggs
Yeah.
rather than
Mhm.
the action. Is
Right.
that
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. So as you've got with all the other ones as well, yeah, fried, boiled, scrambled, poached, baked. Yeah. So they're all the same form. Yeah. So scrambled eggs, always.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So when do you ever use the uncountable form of eggs? So, and do you ever say an egg? Probably you do, because for example, when you fry an egg, just one egg, if you fry it, it's going to be a fried egg, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So when you're referring to like one fried egg, would you say, I like this fried egg, or I cook this fried egg, instead of I cook these fried eggs?
Oh, if it's just one, then yeah, just a fried egg. Yeah, you definitely count it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when it's obviously one, then
Yeah.
it's a fried egg. Yeah.
Okay. I think I know where you're going with this. I never thought about it, but yeah. I would say, yeah, fried egg and boiled egg and poached egg. Yeah, but I think with the other four, it's still quite clear. You can still count the egg. It's still quite visible, isn't it? Maybe if you
It
eat
is.
two of them, yeah.
Yes.
But scrambled egg is as a pile, so it could seem uncountable. And
I don't know. Do you know anybody who scrambles just one egg? I think it's not really enough, right? So
Yeah, that's a fair point.
yeah. So as you could say a scrambled egg, you could, but you probably wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at it, like how many eggs are in there, right?
Yeah. And usually you'd use multiple eggs to make scrambled eggs. So.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
So maybe that's the reason why.
The confusing part is scrambled eggs is obviously not countable anymore because it's scrambled. So it's a little bit confusing to say use the plural of eggs referring to scrambled eggs because it's all already scrambled. So to me, it looks like an uncountable thing.
Yeah.
But you still use scrambled eggs, which is like what it was before it was transformed into scrambled eggs, right? So that was like one of the kind of confusing parts of it, but now it's crystal clear. So the next thing is, so when I was watching some videos about like how to cook scrambled eggs, like perfect scrambled eggs, sometimes in the title, maybe most of the time it has the before perfect, like how to cook the best or how to make the best, not the best, sorry, the perfect scrambled eggs. But sometimes the is not there. Know what I mean? So how to make perfect scrambled eggs or how to make the perfect scrambled eggs. So I was wondering, like, if I should be adding the all the time before the adjective perfect, or is there an option to omit it and just say make perfect scrambled eggs instead of that perfect scrambled eggs? What do you think?
Okay, the perfect scrambled eggs. How to make perfect scrambled eggs. I think you can say both, like as it shows in here, but I think maybe the nuance is a little bit different. Slightly. Like it wouldn't really matter which one you used, but okay, this is what I think. If I heard how to make perfect scrambled eggs, right? It just means scrambled eggs that are perfect. Like it's not strange or anything. But if you said how to make the perfect scrambled egg, it kind of sounds like that person is trying to say that there's only one way to make a perfect egg.
Right.
So the perfect way, not the other way, not the other ways, like the perfect way, right?
So it's like this is the perfect scrambled eggs.
Right. Yeah. So it's like if you're not following this one, then it's not perfect.
There's no way you can make the perfect scrambled eggs if you're not following this.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it sounds a little bit like that. They use the article, and maybe they do it on purpose as a way to get you to click on the video. Like, you should be following this one, not the other ones. Maybe it plays on your mind a little bit. But
got it. Interesting. So, so when I use the adjective perfect, if I'm going to emphasize that this is the only way to make it perfect kind of thing, then I want to add the article before that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So the perfect way to learn English, or in this case, it's always the perfect way of learning English. It sounds like for some reason, don't you think?
Right, exactly. You could say a perfect way. It might suggest that there are other ones. There are other ways.
Other perfect ways.
Yeah, other perfect ways. Yeah. But maybe for this one, when it's talking about scrambled eggs, it's uncountable, right? So I think the perfect in a lot of cases you would still need an article on it. So if it was countable, so how to make a perfect cake, for example, you would still need the "a" there because cake is still countable.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
But the would make it more like only this way.
Okay, so it's acting more as an emphasizer.
Right.
Okay, so that one's okay. That one's done and dusted. Cool. Last but not least, this is the most tricky part. I love egg yolk. I love egg yolks.
I love the egg yolk.
Oh, this part here. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So egg yolk. So when you say I love eggs, it's gonna be plural, right? I love eggs, always plural. So when you say I love egg yolks, does it always have to be plural?
I love egg yolks. I love egg yolk.
And I love the egg yolk. That's another option, I guess.
Okay. Okay. I love egg. I'm just trying to say it to myself. All right. I love egg yolk. I love egg yolks. I love the egg yolk. Are they the same?
Oh, they're all the same.
I feel like they are. Yeah, it's because all of them are saying in like a very general term. Like, yeah, you're just talking about eggs in general. You're not talking about any specific eggs. You're just talking about every time you eat eggs, right? So yeah, I love egg yolk. Yeah, I love egg yolk. You'd be talking about it more as an ingredient, as a thing. And then you could say, oh, I love egg yolks. Same as saying like, I love cats. It'd be the same. And then I love the egg yolk. But I love the egg yolk sounds like you're talking about a specific part of a whole, right? So in this case, you would be talking about the whole egg. So, oh, I like the yolk the best, right? You're talking about this part out of the whole egg, right?
Right.
Or you could be talking about maybe in a dish where it's got an egg and everything else, and you say, oh, I love the yolk, the yolk. But again, you're not. You're talking about like you like this part out of the whole, like the whole dish or the whole meal or something.
As a rule of thumb, right? When you're telling somebody that you like something in general, like I love dogs, I love cats, I love eggs. When it's a countable noun, I think it's a rule of thumb that you've got to make it plural.
Yeah.
So I love yolks, I love whites, I love. Yeah, but in this case, it can be I love yolk too.
As in like the first one, you mean?
Yeah, I love yolk. I love yolk.
Yeah, because like sometimes with food, it can be countable or uncountable depending on the situation. So, for example, if you've got an onion, you can say, "Oh, I have an onion." But then if you're adding some onion, right, to your dish, then it becomes uncountable. It becomes like you measure it in grams or something like that.
But when you want to say you like onions, would you say you like onion or you like onion?
I would prefer to say I like onions. Yeah.
Plural, okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So in your head, you've got like multiple onions probably in a basket or something.
Yeah, right.
Kind of thing, yeah. I love
Yeah, I'm talking about like all onions. I'm not discriminating or anything.
Okay. I love it. So you'd never say I love a neck yolk then. That would sound a bit awkward.
I love. Oh, where does it say that?
Actually, it's not in there.
All right, I love an egg. Again, this is used sometimes.
Is it?
No, okay. So, but this is a little bit. I'm not even sure if I should delve into this one too much because it's confusing. Yeah. So all the other three that we just talked about, they're all good. We discussed those, so those are okay. I love an egg yolk. It sounds like some people might talk like this when they're talking about a specific, like a hypothetical situation. So I love, if I said, like when I have my breakfast, for example, I love a runny egg yolk, right?
Yep. Runny egg yolk. Yep.
Yeah. So I love a runny egg yolk with my breakfast. Okay. So
I'm using one egg yolk. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like I would say more like a hypothetical situation. I'm talking about if I eat breakfast or when I eat breakfast or something. Yeah.
No, I think you are going a bit too far, I guess.
Right, yeah. I know I was just going to confuse you. I'm confusing myself a little bit. Right.
Okay, I love egg yolk. I love egg yolks. So same with the whites, right? I love the whites. I love white. I love egg. Would you ever say egg white? By the way, do you?
So actually, I think with the yolk is it's more common that you might talk about it as a countable thing because each egg only has one. Right, so one.
Yeah.
But the white part tends to be more uncountable. So for example, in some recipes they might ask you to add egg white but not the yolk, right? So I would say that the egg white you can't really count that because it's
exactly right. Yeah, exactly on the same page because the white is like really fluid, it's liquid, right? So how would you be able to actually count it?
Right.
But I see lots of people saying I like the whites, and I'm like, are you counting like each white in like separate bowls or
it's
what?
talking about the white part of each egg.
Of each egg.
Yeah. So God, it's just getting more confusing. Yeah. So separate the whites would mean the white from this egg and the white from this egg. So technically egg whites, but they're not. Oh, this is really hard.
So another situation, just as a case study. Say there was a friend sitting next to you eating fried eggs, right? But he only ate the yolks, right?
He only ate the yolks,
yeah. So the white's still on the plate, and it doesn't seem like he's going to finish it up. And then you say, "Oh, you don't like the white," or "Oh, you don't like the whites," or "Oh, you don't like white," or "You don't like a white." Like, which one would you use?
Maybe I'd just talk about it more generally. So I'd say, "Oh, you don't like egg whites." Yeah, whites.
Whites.
Yeah, but again, I'm contradicting myself, aren't I?
And what if he was eating only one fried egg?
Probably I would still say the same thing.
Because
I'm talking in general, like
right.
Yeah, I'm talking. He's got a problem with all eggs, right? So
all egg whites. Wow. See, this is very deep and very confusing, and there's no way to really. Yeah,
I had no idea that we were going to be able to talk about this for 20 minutes, but we did.
As always.
Well,
I like it. Whites. Okay. Do you like whites?
Do I? Oh, I've got no problem with eggs. Yeah, I like every part.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, and nice to see everyone today. I hope that everyone had a great day. And maybe we can just briefly introduce ourselves. My name is James, and we have Atsu. Where are you from, Atsu?
I'm calling from Japan. My name is Atsu, and I'm from Japan. I used to live in Australia, but I came back to Japan like 3 years ago. So I might have a bit of an Australian accent here and there. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Atsu. Emery, what about you?
I'm currently in Shanghai, China. Yeah, but I'm going to the UK for my master's study in September. Yeah.
Great, nice to meet you. Thank you, Emery. And what about you, Julia?
I'm Julia. I'm from Brazil. I live in the south of Brazil. I've been using Cambly for about 2 years, and I work in marketing. I don't have any intent of going abroad.
Great. Thank you, Julia. And my name is James. I'm from South Africa in a city called Port Elizabeth. And I've also been with Cambly for about 2 years. And basically working full-time with Cambly, exclusively with group classes. So yeah, it's really nice to meet all of you guys. Okay, let's get started. So normally we start our class with a bit of a warm-up or icebreaker. So we'll go straight to the first slide. Atsu, would you mind reading the first paragraph for us here, just so we can understand what we have to do?
Sure, let's break the ice. Give your week some awards. Take turns saying 3 things about your week. Ask each other questions about things you want to know more about.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's good. So so we're going to share, each of us will share 3 things. It says, as you can see, gold, silver, and bronze medal. So gold medal is something really great from this past week. Well, we're on Wednesday, so you can probably go to last week as well. Silver medal is something really good, and the bronze medal is just something good. So maybe we can think of it like the 3 best things that happened in the last week or so. And please listen carefully to each other, because it would be great if we can ask each other a few questions. This is really important to help us practice conversation rather than just wait for our turn to speak. So please listen to each other, and please feel free to ask each other a few questions. I think we can start with Emery, then Julia, then Atsu. So Emery, go ahead. Tell us about your gold, silver, and bronze medal, please.
Okay, so since this week is only, today is only Wednesday, I don't have that much to share, but something good that happened to me. I would say I recovered from COVID-19 because I got infected by that last week. It was my first time to get infected, so it was really bad. I got a fever and it was so uncomfortable, but I recovered, so I was happy about that.
Thank you, Emery. Julia and Atsu, any questions for Emery?
Yeah. Oh, COVID is really bad, right? I had it last year, and it was horrible. I think besides just feeling bad, it's you have to be isolated. So I think for me that was the worst part. How was that for you?
I think that's not the worst part. The worst part is the last week is Dragon Boat Festival in China, so we had a national holiday. I supposed to enjoy the holiday, but I just couldn't. I have to stay at home and sleep. I slept all day. Yes.
Great, thank you, Emery. What about Julia? Could you tell us about your gold, silver, and bronze medal, please?
So I have a 2-year-old, so most of the things I'm going to say will be around that, because when you have a child, it's a lot about them. So my gold medal is similar to Emery. I went to the playground and she made some friends, I made some friends, and my husband made some friends. So that was really nice, because when you become a mother, a parent, I think you kind of miss some friends, because I live far away from my family and from my other friends. So in this new town, I don't have so many friends, and it's difficult sometimes. So that was great for me in this weekend, that I got to do that and meet some new people in the playground.
Cool, thank you, Julia. Okay, guys, questions, comments?
So you said you have a 2-year-old, right? I'm pretty sure there is a lot of stuff that you've got to do for a 2-year-old, and you must be really busy doing that. But how do you manage to make time for yourself so that you can think about something else?
That's hard. I'm actually always struggling with that, because she's up all day, and she kind of sleeps well at night, but she wakes up a lot. So the best time I have for myself and for me and my husband is like before bed. So she goes to bed, and I have that slot like from 7 or 8 till I go to sleep. So that's my best time.
Great, guys. Thank you. Let's hear from Atsu. Atsu, what about your gold, silver, and bronze medal?
My gold medal would be that I finally booked a flight to Australia, and I haven't gone back there for about 3 years since COVID. So I'm very excited to be able to go back there and see my friends. My silver medal would be that, so I have permanent residence, but it was expiring, and I managed to renew it. And I had to make all the excuses as to why I couldn't go back to Australia, including COVID. And, my lawyer actually managed to renew it, so it didn't expire, thank God. So, yeah, that was my sort of medal.
So, you are from Japan and you want to go to Australia to live for a while, or the other way around?
No, so I was born and raised in Japan, and currently I'm living in Japan, but I used to be in Australia for 7 years. Like, I went to a graduate school there and studied there for 2 years, and then worked for a company for 5 years. And then I came back 3 years ago. But I have this intention of going back there and living there again. But now that I've got my business up and running here, I'm still kind of on the fence as to when to go back and what I will be doing in Australia. Or should I, keep managing my business here in Japan, or should I do that remotely in Australia? There are a lot of things to think about right now, but I want to go back there someday.
That's awesome.
Okay, great, guys. So let's go on to the next slide. And this is where we normally spend most of our time in the normal class. Maybe we can quickly choose one topic that we can discuss about. So, Atsu, what do you think? Any of these topics stand out to you? Or anything else, if there's something
Anything else?
on your mind? Yeah. Any other topic that's on your mind?
Possibly English education in your country. What about that?
Okay, very nice. All right. So maybe you can start us off and tell us a little about Japan, and then Emery and Julia could share.
So we start with very, very basic phrases like "How are you?" "I'm fine, thank you," and "you." Like those very basic phrases. We never learn pronunciation, and usually people study to be prepared for the entrance exams for university. So they want to score well, but that's the ultimate goal. So they don't really have this intention of being capable of communicating in English, but they just cram all the grammar knowledge and vocabulary and stuff so that they can pass the exams. And as soon as they pass the exams, they vanish into thin air. They don't really care about English. That's how everything is set up. It's pretty bad because we study taking quite a lot of time, but we end up not being able to speak English. And at the end of the day, I think English is a communication tool which should be used in communication. But I think how we study kind of defeats the actual purpose of learning English. So a little bit sad, but it is what it is. So I've been trying to change it by posting videos that are a little bit more practical, so I can change their mindset and how they study English through my YouTube channel.
Very cool. I can definitely hear the Australian accent coming through from time to time.
You think? Thanks for saying that. That's a compliment for me.
Oh yeah, your English sounds great. Emery, what about you? How is the English education system in China?
I think China, like what Atsu said, I think China and Japan share similarities in English education. English is a compulsory subject in our whole education system, not only in elementary school but also middle school, high school. You have to learn English, but also I assume that it is mainly learned for tests, preparing for different tests, or you have to pass it for get into the college, etc. But when you really using it, in universities, students try to take different English exams, IELTS, TOEFL, but the truth is, it turns out that they reached high scores in listening and reading, but in writing and speaking, the scores is not very high. I think it's the common problem exists in China. I don't know other countries, but I think it may share similarities in the East Asia part, East Asia area. That's what I think is not very good. If you're only learning English for this test purpose, you can't really learn it, or you cannot like make it become a communicative tool. Since I learn different languages, I know how important it is to like practice in real life communicating with natives, etc. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Great. I'm so sorry, my dogs are barking, so I'll just quickly ask Julia to share.
Yeah, that's so interesting. In Brazil, we never, like, many people don't even know what is IELTS, TOEFL, that kind of exam. We don't use it for universities. I guess you would use it like if you want to go to work in another country or something like that, then they would ask you, and then people start preparing. So I think like 3% of Brazilians speak English. It's very low. And it's a lot of people. So 3% is very low. So we do have English in public schools. Like you are learning since you were a child, but it's just very basic. Children start learning colors and then a little bit numbers, 1 to 10, and then some animals, and that's kind of it. They keep doing that, and then when you move on to primary school, you start learning a little bit about verb to be, and then you keep learning that to high school, because I don't know how nobody learns. I think it's because so few people speak English that they try to teach something the teachers don't know really well. They know some, so they try to pass on what they know, but it's not a lot. And the students know even less, so yeah, it's complicated. And so people start wanting to learn when they think, oh, okay, maybe I'll go live in another country or go on vacation. So then they try to learn English. So it's later in life. It's hard.
Yeah, I've picked that up also from the Cambly classes. Many people have a reason, like a very clear reason that they want to learn English. I want to move to Canada, or I want to get a job in an international company. It's very, very purposeful English studying,
Hey, Atsu, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see.
How are you?
Doing pretty well. Yeah, just a bit busy, but that's it. I'm busy with just family matters and trying to get things done. So,
Family matters.
mhm.
As in, you have a family now, or
Oh
with
no,
with your
not that
parents?
I have a family now, just my parents and my
Your
dog.
parents
Yeah.
and your dog, right? Are you staying in the same house?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so today I've got one topic, but it kind of slipped my mind, so I'm trying to recall what I was going to talk about. So yeah, the word graduate. Graduate. So the verb graduate, like completing a course of study and that kind of stuff. When you say you graduated the institution, would you say I graduated from like high school or graduated high school? So is the preposition from really necessary? Because always in my mind, I was like, from is definitely necessary when I use the verb graduate. So I would often say I graduated from school, I graduated from the university. But nowadays, I kind of like got to the point where I realized there are many people who don't use the preposition from. And I was wondering if there is any difference. It's just a personal preference kind of thing, or what is this?
It could be personal preference and it could also be regional. I know for myself that I use from graduated from high school. So I'm not sure whether I have used graduated high school at all. Just because I'm an English teacher, and so from is pretty necessary in order to do that. But I know there are lots of cultural things out there that are different from the accepted grammatical norm, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah. So you wouldn't use graduate as a transitive verb, but you'd always use as an intransitive verb. So with the preposition. Okay, so it's probably a matter of personal preference or regional difference.
Another one that I have heard of that really messes with my head is using the structure have went.
Have went?
Yeah. It's
That's
a
why
very common thing that I have heard of in
really
people, YouTubers that I've heard just repeatedly saying have went or have saw or have something. I don't know, whatever, have and then past tense verb. It's just really odd. Now sometimes they go back to the have and then the past participle, you know, the perfect form. But I've been hearing that more often. Have went, and then I'm like,
over the top.
what? So if I ever hear someone in person say that, I'm gonna ask them why or how they learned to use grammar in that way. So yeah.
So have you went to instead of maybe have you been to, maybe? That could be
Mostly
a
I think it's
possibility.
like I have went there. I'm not sure whether they, automatically say have you went. I don't think I've heard that question I don't think I've heard that grammatical structure used in that sort of question before, but I know in a statement like I have went. I've heard that plenty of times, and it's just a little bit like nails on a chalkboard to me. But it's a thing, and I think it might be people coming out of California. I'm not sure, but I've noticed a lot of YouTubers saying things like that, and so it's just a little bit mind-blowing to me. But
yeah. So usually it's in a positive sentence, in a positive normal sentence, so not in a question, maybe not in a negative sentence either, like I haven't went there.
I haven't went there. I haven't heard that as much, so I can't really say, but if they say I have went, then they probably might say I haven't went. So
as you know, there's sort of not one tried and tested approach to learning English.
There's no one size fits all, right?
Yeah, and I think that I hope people realize that, because I think that's really important, that it's not just about what you think is the correct answer. It's ask other people and find out their approach and find out the one that works for you best. I think way to approach it, I believe.
English is definitely like a living organism, so like it's more art than science, right? You have like all different sorts of approaches that you can take to get to the same result. So well, it's a bit of a struggle for people to find out what really works best for them, because there are so many different paths that you can take. But I absolutely agree. Some people like immersing themselves in the environment where the language is spoken, and gradually they start picking them up. Whereas a person like me likes to learn theoretical aspects of it first and then put them into practice, which is like another way. And it's not like, if you take one way, you can't take the other, right? You can combine them together and turn it into your way of learning. So I think you hit the nail on the head on that one.
Like for example, I take you're a very deep learner and you're very passionate about it, and I think that's your main purpose, is that you're passionate about English. But you meet people of very different or taking very different approaches, I should say. So some people are very sort of casually into English, some people are learning for work, some people just want to sort of keep their levels of English a good standard, because of course in Japan you don't really get the chance to speak English unless you're very specifically, for example, working in a company that uses English, or you have friends that happen to speak English. So it just depends what you want, I suppose, and then find the thing that helps you to stay motivated in that particular area.
Yeah. Motivation is definitely like one of the most critical elements of learning, right? Because without having motivation, you can't really keep going. And continuation is always, necessary factor when it comes to learning something. So even if there is a way that is like most efficient, if it's like super, super boring, and then if people can't really keep up with the method, that kind of offsets the effects of the efficiency realized by the method, right? So
yeah, exactly. So what age were you learning English from? Was it quite a young age for you as well?
If you're counting the compulsory education of English, probably around 13. I don't know how much you know about the compulsory education in Japan, but English taught in class is like very, it's not that deep, we learn some basic phrases, but it's not that practical. We often tend to get distracted by all the technical details of grammar and stuff. And, there is no really practical aspect really built in. Even English teachers, I think a lot of them can't really communicate in English. They just have the, knowledge that they have to teach according to the education policies or something
quite
like that.
robotic in some ways, you could
It
say.
is. So it's a pretty big problem, I think, who to be able to speak English by learning from someone who can't speak English, right? So yeah,
makes it
but
very
it's like-
difficult. This is a reoccurring issue that I hear from talking to students the world over, and that simply is that they just don't get the chance to use practical English. And I really do think that is the key to English learning, not so much, grammar and all these other things that are useful building blocks, but in fact, I think you do need speaking skills, because it's like that expression, the proof is in the pudding. You really need to do that. You need to get out there and sort of use your skills. So, and I've seen Japanese textbooks in school, and they're often quite how can I explain? They're very sort of chunky tomes, you could say. They're big thick books, lots of information, but it doesn't necessarily make for interesting learning. It might give you some fundamental skills.
Yeah.
However, it's not necessarily useful in the long term, we could say, I think.
So it's not that what they teach in class is not useful, right? What they teach is definitely like one of the fundamentals of learning English, and they need, like you said, those building blocks to build the castle of English. But unless you use those building blocks to build something, like nothing's going to happen. And that building process, I think, is to actually use the knowledge. It's almost like during class we are collecting building blocks, and like after collecting all those in a bucket, we don't do like anything with that. And then what was the point of really collecting those building blocks if you're not going to use them? That's the
sit in a corner.
then that kind of defeats the purpose, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the amount of people that tell me I've had some time away from English and I feel my skills have deteriorated. In fact, one of my very old Japanese friends, they said that their skills have sort of deteriorated as they've not been able to use their skills recently. And so I think that is a common theme, that it's like if you don't use it, you lose it, they say. So
yeah. But it's tough to motivate students, because it's so hard for students to realize how important it is to learn English, because they, like, living in Japan, like you said, there is not many opportunities to speak English. Then probably they would start questioning, like, then why are we learning English if we are not going to use them, right? So it's pretty understandable. Like, I would have probably thought the same way. So I think we've got to, like, drastically, like, if we were to kind of force people to learn English no matter what, then we've got to change the exam system, which is at the top, like a top-down approach.
I
Like,
think
by
that's
changing
exactly
that,
it.
it's going to trickle down.
Yeah, so I think as terrible as it is to say, I think the problem lies with the school education system somewhat, because I think that they really do need to place more focus on the speaking part. maybe more so than any other part, and then add in those sort of parts of structuring sentences or whatever it might be. That's the important part afterwards, I believe. So I wish there was something that turned everything around and sort of turn it on its head, you could say, completely.
One of the biggest barriers to it is to secure enough resources to make that happen. So there needs to be a certain scoring system in place, right? To give them grades and like how they're going, and we've got to keep track of like how they're performing in English class. And how can we do that like without having, for example, like native speakers who can always like constantly check, how their speaking level has been going up, which is like extremely difficult unless we can have like lots of native speakers from all around the world to be teachers in Japan, but we don't have the financial backbone that supports it. And what do you think would be a potential solution to it?
I've heard of sort of Vietnamese-based applications that sort of measure your English ability, which I thought was a good little app I came across. And I think AI could be the key to it. I'm trying to think of in the sort of short term what the key is. Well, I think certainly one thing that will happen now is because Japan has reopened. I think you might see an influx of English teachers from English-speaking countries again, and that might be helpful in terms of having someone with a background speaking English and can sort of go back to schools and sort of provide help and assistance to people. The solution beyond that, it's really difficult to answer. I don't know if I have a good answer for that actually. I'm trying to think if there's a good way to approach this from what I can think of at the moment. I suppose that we need to sort of talk to the current tutors that are there and make sure that they are sort of giving the correct level of education and speaking ability, the opportunities to speak would be a very good thing. So I think maybe there should be very dedicated parts of lessons where it's just purely speaking, because that is definitely something that's a reoccurring theme with many students. As I said, they just don't get the chance to speak. So I think if there's a part where students look forward to each week speaking, and I don't know if that comes in the form of, I don't know, somebody coming from outside the school and purely having conversational English with students.
So simply put, you're saying it all boils down to each individual teacher's personal growth.
Yeah, I think unfortunately that is the case, and that is something that's very hard to sort of track and nurture as well, because somebody's approach is very different to the next person's approach. And that could be a good thing too.
It would be ideal like if all teachers in Japan start like putting in a lot of effort and time to be able to actually speak English, like to improve their speaking ability. Like the challenge to it is their learning curve. I think this is just all in my head maybe, but when they become a teacher, they're at their peak in terms of their English knowledge and stuff, because from that point onwards, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be kind of doing the same thing again every year, right? They probably start realizing that there are like so much that they don't really have to use during class, and they're going to probably vanish into thin air over time because they don't use that. Know what I mean? So say this is 100% of knowledge that they learned before becoming a teacher, and they realize that, oh, okay, I can actually teach everything in accordance with the curriculum by using just 30% of the total knowledge that I've acquired before, and the 70% just disappears because they don't use it. But at the same time, there is no like motivation to really
many English teachers need that internal passion to sort of carry on, and
absolutely
that's it. If teachers can find their internal passion, then that will sort of spur them on to make great strides in their own personal English ability as well, because I meet many very talented Japanese teachers who are teaching English as well, and I'd say a lot of them are quite passionate, but some feel a bit burnt out, I think, by the situation they're in, and that's frustrations of internally in the school or whatever it might be. I think often.
Yeah, but yeah, lots of problems, very complicated, and they're intertwined, and it's so difficult to unpack what's What do you think of introducing Cambly to every school in Japan?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really good opportunity because, of course, you get to speak to people worldwide. Hopefully, they'll feel at ease. So that's what I try and do with my students. I try and make them feel at ease and not feel the pressure. So I do think that is a really good approach. And, it connects you with the outer world. I think that's really important. And there's obviously so many benefits to Cambly, and including the slides you're able to use, and any external sort of content that's a possibility for use as well. So yeah, I believe it's really useful.
Okay, so I can do it versus I could do it.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this, first of all?
So when I say I could, yeah, that's an option. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, it's an option for you to do that. So you can, I think, paraphrase it with an option for somebody to do. When you say I could do that, but you can do it. You can do it sounds like, oh, I believe that you have the ability to do it. But because like when you say you could join the meeting from home, that has a bit of a different nuance. Right?
It does, yes.
I wouldn't say you could. I would say you can join the meeting from home. But you could join the meeting from home sounds like, well, it's an option, but it's not really recommended. I don't know.
Well, actually, yeah, that's what I was about to say. So you always say but afterwards. So, oh, you could do that, but, and then you always give some reason why you think it's not a good idea. Yeah. Yeah. So as for this, when we're talking about the difference, like I can do it, I could do it. Honestly, like can and could, there's not just one meaning, right? So they're used in like many different situations and many contexts. So I guess you kind of have to cover all of them. And yeah, it can be quite difficult to understand what the difference actually is. So yeah, I think when we use could, you could do this. Yeah, you're giving some kind of suggestion, and it also sounds a little bit more polite as well. So you might hear people say this in the service sector if they're giving you some suggestions. Oh, you could try this, or you could do this, you could do this. It sounds a bit softer and more polite. Oh, you can do this. Again, they can say it, and it's not necessarily rude, but it just sounds very general and generic without any thought put into it. It's like you said, ability, like it's like yes and no. But yeah, I feel like whenever we use could, there's always extra feeling to it and maybe more polite. It also sounds like when we're giving suggestions about something, it sounds like it's less likely to happen. And you haven't quite committed to it yet. So maybe somebody wants to give many different suggestions. In fact, I think in the UK, if I asked my friends, we're trying to make plans for the weekend. Oh, what do you think about this? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? And they might just respond with could do, and that's it. Nothing else. Yeah, so it kind of gives that idea of like possibility. But we haven't quite committed to it yet. It's still a little bit hypothetical.
A little bit hypothetical, right? So less possibility compared to can.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it could take about 2 hours. To get there. It can take about 2 hours to get there. So when you say it can take about 2 hours to get there, then like it's absolutely possible that it takes 2 hours. But it could take 2 hours. Kind of includes a bit of your guessing. Maybe.
Yeah, I think
about 2 hours.
Yeah, I think it can take about 2 hours. Again, it sounds quite generic and it's really specific to what we're talking about, like the situation now. But if you say, oh, it could take 2 hours, it sounds like a more specific situation for somebody. So for example, if we were going on a trip somewhere and we were planning something for the weekend, you say, oh, it could take 2 hours to get to our hotel or something, because it's more specific. But if you're saying, oh, it can take 2 hours, it means not just for me, but it's just generic. It means for everyone all the time. Right?
Maybe it has a meaning of may be able to do. So like AI could replace most of our jobs, for example, in the future. Then AI may be able to replace most of our jobs in the future. But when you say AI can replace, then that's the fact already. Like AI can replace even now. But now we are talking about an uncertain situation about the future. May be able to in the future, but we are not sure. In which case, able to use. It could replace.
Yeah. So again, your example, we're talking about the future, so it's a little more hypothetical. We can't quite decide what the answer is yet. So but good. Okay, have a nice day. I'll see you again.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
I feel like versus it feels like. So I think they are extremely similar. They are very comparable. And in common sense, right? Somebody who feels must be a person, I guess, or an animal, or like a living organism. I think that's the only type of thing that can feel something. So it's kind of against my common sense that, people use it feels like, because it is obviously referring to a thing or a situation or whatever, rather than, somebody or an animal that can feel something. So I wanted to figure out how they differ and in what kind of context you'd prefer to use it feels like rather than I feel.
So you're saying for you, because of your knowledge of grammar, and do you feel like when you see it feels like something, does it sound a bit unnatural, or it goes against your intuition? Because you think feel has to be a person, right?
Yeah, so definitely I use it feels like in my English, and I've heard people using it feels like as well, so it's completely fine. But it's a little bit counterintuitive from the sense that from the perspective that something or a thing, object shouldn't be able to feel anything.
Yeah, so when I see both of them together, I feel like this, or it feels like this. I would say I feel like it's more personal, and it's about your personal feelings. And for it feels like it's a little bit more objective, right? So it feels like this, and it's kind of like you're removing yourself from the situation a little bit. And so I would say I feel like is more subjective. It's like, oh, this is my opinion, or this is how I feel. But if you say it feels like, you could say it's not based on your thinking or feeling. It would be like, oh, anybody in this situation would feel the same way. You could say it feels very sad in this room, right? Like you're talking about the atmosphere in general, something like that. So if you say, oh, it feels like this, you're kind of being a bit more objective, and you're removing yourself. And I think you could use this more if you're saying something which is maybe not very polite or a little bit insulting, because you're removing yourself from it. You're saying, oh yeah, it feels like you're not listening to me or something.
Right.
It kind of puts the blame on the other person. But if you say, I feel like you're not listening to me, it's very direct, and you're saying, oh, my feelings are hurt here. Yeah. So I think if I'm trying to say something negative about a situation or about something that I don't like, maybe I would say it feels like this, because it's like it's more objective.
Yeah, so in my personal opinion, it is usually referring to the overall situation or the overall atmosphere that I'm feeling right now. So I think it's a little bit like objective, and people around me would agree with my opinion. Like if I were to use "it feels like" versus "I feel like," maybe "I feel like" sounds a little bit more personal because it starts with "I." Obviously, I feel like there is something wrong with this document. It feels like there is something wrong with this document. So maybe when I say "I feel like," that sounds more like this is my gut feeling that's telling me.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but "it feels like" is like pretty much the same, to be honest.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
a tiny bit of distance maybe from my gut feeling to what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I think in your situation that you just explained with the document, it feels like there's something wrong with this document. It's almost like you're expecting another person to feel the same way as you in your situation, right? So it's, again, you're removing yourself and it's more about the document, and you say, well, if anybody looks at this document, they're also going to be a bit confused. So it feels like there's something wrong.